Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to another podcast. Check us out. We're going to talk about our show coming up in November 11th. Bodybuilding show. We'll leave a description at the link below. Check it out. We have a lot of people showing up from all over the United States. It is going to be exciting. We've got Nate Richardson on today's episode. We are excited to talk to an MMA fighter. For all you fans, stay tuned. And as you know, some of you know me, my name is Brooke. Brooke, I'm a runner, not a fighter. You can see that by my physique, but we don't got to go there. And next up, we've got Nate. Let's have him introduce himself and then have him talk about the fight he's got coming up in July. Take it over, Nate.
What's up, sir? Well, Nate Richardson, like I said, we getting ready for our upcoming fight for the promotion Fury Fighting Championship in Houston, Texas. So I'm pretty excited for that one.
Nice, nice. Nate, welcome. I know you from back in college. It's been 10 years. I mean, we've come a long, long, long way. I do want to get to know you a little more. I mean, talk to me. What have you been up to?
Man, keeping my head down grinding, man. Like, it's funny, just grinding and seeing the people we went to school with start their family, do things, change careers. So life been interesting, bro.
For sure, for sure. We've got to be the same age. I'm 32. You're probably 32, I would assume.
Most, yep.
That's right. Any kids out there, or what's the deal?
Unfortunately, no kids. Like I say, what I'm doing it keeps me pretty busy at the same time. It's a little bit hard
Yeah,
to find a relationship, so it comes with the job, basically, man.
absolutely. Hey, let's go back. Most of the guys that we know each other. We're not from here. We came to the United States maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago, and
Yep.
if I remember, I think that's kind of like the same thing with you. We want to know more. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Basically, I came from Liberia, in West Africa. Unfortunately, the way it happened was due to civil war. After that, we moved to Ivory Coast, stayed for a little bit till our family got some things ready that we had over here to move to the United States. So we're just adapting to the different parts and the culture wise, basically, just learning new things as you go.
So, did you fight back in Liberia, or where did that come from?
Nah, man. Let's go back home. I was more interested in soccer. Back home, we say football, but in
That
America, we say soccer. So
that's
I
right.
was more interested in that. That was my goal to be a soccer player one day. Fighting just came from me trying to learn how to defend myself after high school. I wanted to learn how to defend myself, and the best way I figured to do that was to actually try it and see if you can really learn this.
I mean, that's interesting because where I come from, it's football too. I mean, soccer, but I love watching MMA. I've been watching it, since 2009, but I never even imagined that I would want to be a fighter. I mean, when I first met you, actually, you were boxing. I don't think you were doing MMA because I did a tryout for one day and I said, nah, this is not me. So I walked out. But if I recall, I think you were a boxer. So did that
Yeah.
change, or what was the story there?
Now, unfortunately, I started in MMA. Then I realized that I didn't know enough skills wise, so I went to a boxing gym and started working my boxing a lot more. Then when we met, you pretty like I say, it was something that is nerve wracking because everybody feels they tough till they get hit. It changed your whole life. Like, nah, I'm not about this life. This is not for me. And it's the one thing I try to tell people. Yes, when you see us on TV and we get hit and we act like it don't hurt, the shit hurts. We just have to fake it because we're in the game. That if you show me that you're hurt, my goal is to take you out. So
Right.
you got to pretend like you don't feel nothing.
Yes, yeah. Speaking of, you don't. I mean, you watch the UFC. I'm assuming you've watched it a long time.
Yep.
Probably 10, 12 years ago, my favorite fighter was Lyoto Machida. Do you know who he is?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So he's kind of like hands down. He doesn't show his movements. So when I
Right.
was trying to box, that's what I was trying to do. and that was my first time ever doing any kind of sparring. So the whoever the guy was, he hit me twice. You saw it, and he
Yep.
said, hey, bro, you got to keep your hands up. So I was like, nah, man, I know what I'm doing. So before I move,
Right.
I get hit like a couple times, and I got dizzy. I was like, no, 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 I'm out of here.
Like I said,
So
what's it called?
right.
Go
So
ahead, man.
for me, like forget about boxing. MMA was not an option because then you're not gonna have to look out just for hands. You got to look out for knees, legs. Like I mean, you name it. So that's interesting. So and then you went to MMA, and would that be around the same time, or what was the time frame?
Um, I was doing MMA way before. Then probably I say like a year. I started boxing. I realized that I needed to get better than just stuck to boxing for like a year. Afterwards, because my MMA gym closed down, so I needed to keep improving my skills. Then after that, I eventually joined another MMA gym where I found a coach that challenged me not to only get better, but he challenged me to push myself farther. And after that, he showed me how to actually start kickboxing, and this is where my kickboxing skills started coming in. And he saw some talent in me, and he offered me to join the Team USA kickboxing thing. And after that, we just been going and going, and got the opportunity to fight in Glory Kickboxing, then come back to MMA, get on the local scene. And right now, we just chasing this goal to get to the next level. To do that, I got to constantly keep competing against higher level competition just to prove that I belong where I say I belong.
Right. So you were in Glory for how many years?
I had a fight in Glory, so I say probably like 2 years.
Is it the? Is it? I'm assuming it's the same as the UFC. Is it like a contract? They would sign you a contract for however many fights, or how
Yep.
does that work?
So same thing. Glory will sign you a contract for a certain number of fights. But at the same time, with Glory, they're almost like the UFC, except they're like the biggest kickboxing promotion, just like the US is the biggest UFC promotion. Glory is the biggest kickboxing promotion. So only the best of the best can compete. So it is one thing that got me excited that I'll be facing some of the best striker in something I'm not good at. Because when I started was to improve my striking and see if I could compete against some of the best striker since I was an MMA guy.
Right. So I guess what's next for you? Like, do you eventually want to go up to a bigger organization, like the UFC or even maybe Japan? I know Japan they have very very strong kickboxing organizations out there. I mean, they got some killers out there too. But is that what you're thinking?
Like I said, that's always been the goal. Like I said, the USC is the next step that I want to be at. Unfortunately, my days of kickboxing are pretty much done, so I'm not really interested in kickboxing. I did kickboxing just to see how well I was at against some of the best strikers in the world.
Right.
Now it's time to get back serious to be where we want to be, and that's MMA. And right now, the promotion I fight for it is the only place I can be released or let go to is the UFC once my contract is done.
Right.
So we're working that, and we got a very tough individual that we'll be facing next, who is a former UFC fighter. So I'm excited to take my skill and see just how I do against some of the best people who compete in the promotion where I want to be at one day.
So you did mention you don't want you're going to be fighting out of Texas. So like, did you actually move to Texas, or are you going back and forth?
Nah, man, I'm still in Minnesota. I'm still in
Okay.
Minnesota here.
Yeah. So you can't skip the cold. You can't just be getting up and living. Um, so are you familiar with? I know you're familiar, but the what is it called? I think it's called. I remember it as Dana White's. No, it's
Contender series.
it is like when looking for a fight or something, like where he would go look for good fighters from different organizations.
Yep.
It did. I mean, I don't follow that portion of the business as much, but I would have to imagine he's been to Minnesota maybe a couple times. Was there a time where you actually met him, or was there a time where he actually attended your fights or any fights that you've been a part of?
Yeah. Yeah, that was the time. Like I said, we've been on the show looking for a fight before, and that's
Oh,
so they know who I am right now. We're just trying to establish that I'm still one of the best there, and eventually we got to get picked. But yeah, we've been there. We met him before. He left where the only thing we need to keep doing right now is constantly winning, and that's all
right.
I'm focused on is constantly winning.
No, absolutely. So what's a process for somebody to? I guess what's the journey? Because Like for example, I did a lot of running, track and field, half marathons, but when you try to take the next step, it's not as easy unless you know people that would get you in, or you have to be like way better than the people at the top level, which is not that easy, as you may know, being a pro. So what's the process to be noticed? Specifically in your case, like from Ano Karamzi to be noticed at the level that you're in now, like what did it take?
Like I said, man, it's not easy, man. It's a lot of sacrifice you got to put in, a lot of days in and day out. Like I said, at the end of the day, you got to be your biggest supporter, regardless of what you do. Who behind you? You got to be your biggest supporter in what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time is you got to do things you don't like to do. And for me, running every single time wasn't something I like to do. So I had to get used to doing the things I don't want to do on days I don't want to do it, because those are the days you really got to do it. So running has become one of the biggest part of my thing I do. Strength conditioning, I had to add that in. At the same time, I had to be disciplined in driving to different kind of places like a boxing gym, then my MMA gym. Then at the same time, making sure I can drive to my strength conditioning program. So you got a lot of things you got to put in, but at the same time, you got to understand you are making an investment in yourself. So if you don't want it bad enough, you can take the easy way out. But just I always try to keep this in mind that whatever you're not willing to do, somebody is doing it. So you might as well get your butt up and get working.
Oh, that is true. How many times do you work out a day?
Ooh. Normally I do three. When I'm in camp, I try to keep it to 4 or 5.
4 or 5 a day?
Yeah,
Is that like different workouts for different parts of your body, or is it like sparring, maybe
uh,
cardio and then lifting, or?
pretty much different workout, different days. Certain days I might have to, like, we'll say a prime example was yesterday. I had training in the morning. Then I had strength conditioning at noon. Then I had to come back again. I had sparring at 3:30. Then later on at nighttime, I had another training session at 8 o'clock. So it just depending on how your training schedule, depending how close, how your fights, how far along you are from your fight, is how you crank up your training schedule, how you lower your intensity, depending on where you're at.
Right. So, I mean, are you doing this like full time? Because I'm only asking because I remember back in the day, the UFC fighters, fighting was kind of like their side thing, their side gig. So, I mean, fighting 4 times, I mean, I'm sorry, yeah, practicing 4 times a day and doing anything else outside of sleeping seems ridiculous.
Unfortunately, fighting don't pay this much right now on the local scene. So I still got a normal job where I'm a personal care assistant. So I still work, but I still got to make time to put in my training. So like I say, it's a lot of dedication that go into what you do.
Right.
So you really got to ask yourself, how bad do you really want this?
Yeah, that's crazy. That's insane. Yeah, that's the dedication that most of us don't have. I mean, that's insane. I had 2 jobs part time when I was in college for maybe like a week, and I said, no, no way, no, thank you. But that speaks volume of the differences in some people's mentality. Let's talk about some of your fights. What would you say is your favorite fight? Maybe that you won and maybe one that you lost.
Um, like I say, it's been a hard one, but I, I don't have a favorite. I just say because for me, each obstacle I face, it actually builds me. So I'm always grateful for the opportunity I got to actually go through it.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the ones that I had recently was the one I won the Fury featherweight belt, and that one came out on circumstances that I was dealing with a lot of things at the time. Somebody who I consider a second father figure to me passed away like a month before the fight.
Oh wow, sorry to
Usually,
hear that.
yeah, because of COVID. But usually, doing the grieving process for me, I like to separate myself from everybody and just focus on me until I'm back to normal, then come back again.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I couldn't do that at that time because I was getting ready for a title fight. So I had to be around people getting ready, and my brain just wasn't there. I was messing up, getting caught by things I normally wouldn't get caught with. It, I, it was like an off day, and it took me a bit before I could actually get back to normal because there'll be time I'll go for my run, And I'll have that inner conversation with yourself, be like, bro, we need to calm down and grieve a little bit. Then I got the other voice saying, nah, we don't got time for that. We got to concentrate. We need to be, our head got to be in this game or else we're about to get hurt. So it was always that part. And it sucks. So a lot of times it's just putting your head down and just going through it because at the end of the day, nobody really care what you go through in life. It's so long you can get your job done. That's what people look at.
Right.
Unfortunately, the sport we're in, people forget that just because you're athletic, you're an athlete, you forget that you're a human too. So they really don't care how you're feeling, so long you just they pay that money. All they want to see is you perform, and that's all your mindset is. Regardless of what I'm going through, just like you will have a bad day at work, I'm having a bad day, but I still got a job I got to do. I got to push that aside and just go through it and do my job. And that was one of the hardest thing I had to do because I talked to him like about 2 weeks before he passed away. And we talked. I said, yeah, I got a title fight coming up. You can show up, but you can't be in my corner because of COVID. I don't want you to get anything. He said, son, I'll be there. Then when I got the call that he passed away, that really hits home a lot. So that hurt.
Yeah.
Because now, not only did we talk about it, because he was mad at me. He's like, why you keep playing with these guys? You're better than me. You're conditioned, you're fast, you're strong. You should be taking these guys. It's not like that. I got to see what they're doing. He said, nah, screw that. Stop looking at it. I'm like, just like a father figure would, and he would get mad about it. He said, promise me one thing, son. You won't play with these guys when it's time to fight. You will beat the crap out of them. And the second thing, promise me you're going to give me a title so I can move to Barcelona. I said, I get that. So I was excited for getting him that title. I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. So when he passed away, the only thing I had, my head was in the game. I was a 5-1 underdog because the guy fought on the Dana White Contender Series, so the hype was around him. He's from Brazil, a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with a record of 19 and 4 records. So he was a prospect everybody was looking at. So when I came in, I was a 5-1 underdog. But the one thing that kept me going, regardless how I felt, was I made a promise to my coach that I would do certain things that I wanted to make sure I'm a man of my word. So going to that, it was a back and forth fight, it was my first pro fight for a title. So my first 25 minutes out of the fight, I had some adversity. I got caught in the third round. He rocked me. It was a back and forth war, but I ended up winning. And it was a great fight because I not only kept my promise, but at the same time, I broke my hand during that fight. So it was one of those bittersweet moments where I was happy I did what I told him I was going to do. The only sad part about it, he wasn't there for me to actually give him what I promised I would have given him.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great story. Which fight was this? Who was the opponent?
His name is Diego Lopez. He took a UFC fight not too long ago, 5 days notice. Now he's in the UFC. So a
Yes.
guy I have beat. So right now on the table is I have beat guys then who are in the UFC. So me taking on a guy who has been in the UFC, if I can do exactly what I know I'm gonna do is beat him, it'll put me right where I need to be.
Okay. So I wasn't sure. So this is the same Diego Lopez in the UFC.
Yep.
Oh wow, that's interesting. You know, I will say I did go back and look at some of your fights. I will say my favorite one. I don't know where you got the your fighting style because you're always going forward. It's against what's his name? Is it Courtney Buck or something?
Oh, okay.
Because the one thing that stood out to me is he was super aggressive on the first round, but then
Yep.
you kept your composure, and then eventually I can tell the guy's getting tired and then you just took advantage of it and just took him out. So
Yep.
that I think is that's my favorite. And then I mean looking at all your fights, I mean you're always going forward. Where does that come from? I mean, is that because of your coach or is that something you learned in boxing?
Unfortunately, it's kind of a mentality that if you're not going forward, your opponent's coming forward. And so, depending on your game, if you're a counter puncher, you can play going backwards. If you're more of an attacker, you can go forwards and do that. But I'm a pressure fighter. I like to stay on you. I like to make you feel as uncomfortable as possible. You're either gonna fight me or I'm gonna hurt you. That's your option. You don't get any other option when you face me. So with that, it was just, and Courtney was a prime example because he hurt me in the first round.
He
And the
did,
only
yeah.
thing I and the only thing I knew deep down is I'm conditioned. I'm very conditioned more than most people. So you will get tired before I do. And we just kept just like everything. With boxing, we break him down. Taller guy, keep touching his body, keep tiring him out. Eventually, he's gonna give me what I wanted, and what I wanted was to knock him out, and that's how we ended the fight, knocking him out.
Yeah, that was I mean, that was interesting. I thought that fight was just a great example of kind of like staying to your game plan, whatever that is. Because I mean, sometimes when you watch all these fights, if somebody starts swinging, you just want to swing back. It's not that easy to kind of like stay calm. So I thought that was very interesting. I do want to ask you about the one other fight. I cannot remember who it was against, but it was I think they called it a KO because of a slam. When I saw that
Oh,
when I saw that fight, I thought it was a head. I thought that was a headbutt, but I think the
it
commentator
was.
the commentator said it was your own shoulder. So I was like,
Yep.
that's not what I saw. So I want to
So
know more.
yeah, we watched the video. It was against. It was probably my first loss in the promotion. He took me down, and two things went in my head. If I brace myself and like post my hand out, I might fall on it and break it. So I figure if I get slammed down, I just get there. So when I did that, my head hit my shoulder and his head hit my chin, and I was out.
So it's
So it was
both.
like, yeah. So it was one of those fluke accident that rarely happened. And that's the first time I ever been out like that. So it was a lesson learned. Like
Yeah.
I said, one thing about the ups and downs we go through, you either learn from it and get better, or you keep making the same mistake over and over again.
I did want to ask this question as well. I mean, what's is it a bitter or sweet to have your first loss in know what not to do, or having your first ever win in a pro MMA fight? I mean, I don't want to say which one do you
Um,
prefer because you want to win always, but what gives you the most value?
don't get me wrong, it's always great to win, but what's it called? Losing humble you a lot. It makes you realize that you got to do a little bit more to get what you want a little bit more. You got to understand what you went through for that process to happen, what you did wrong, and learn from those mistakes. Because if you constantly keep getting things your way, you start building an ego because you feel like nothing, you can't do nothing wrong. But losing humble you in ways that you got to actually look at yourself and like, oh, I'm not perfect. I actually got to work on this. I got to improve this. So for me, every little loss I've taken has helped me grow because it just reassured me how good I am. Even if it's just about a little bit, or this person just outclassed me because he was a little bit better than me, or he knew something more than I did. At the end of the day, I'm always grateful for that because it forced me to push myself in more. When I come back, I'm coming back with a vengeance. I'm hoping you have the same mentality because if you don't, you're gonna give me what I want, and it's either you or me.
Yeah, very cool. So, what weight class are you fighting? Is it featherweight,
I fight featherweight, 145.
145? And so, what's your walking around weight?
My walk around weight is normally 175, but since I've been doing rehab, I've been able to keep it down at 165 for this camp.
That's so you have to drop at least 20 pounds minimum.
Yeah.
How long does that take you typically?
Ooh, proper dieting and proper doing my exercise, my routine, and making sure I stay hydrated. So I'm drinking a gallon and a half a day of water. Make sure I'm eating my vegetables and my protein from salmon, chicken, turkey breast, all those things, and still just making sure my diet is as clean as possible. Because no matter, same thing with anything you do, if you want to have a body like a physique, you got diet is important. Eating right is important. You can work out all you want, but if you don't eat right, you don't not gonna see what you're working for. So that's kind of the same thing with fighting. You got to understand what you're putting in your body and how you're gonna use it.
So, have you? What happens with the promotion that you're in? What happens if somebody misses weight, like you or the opponent? Is that are they gonna cancel the
Uh,
fight, or is there a fee, a fine?
that's a fine. And if you decide to still go through the fight, your opponent got to pay half of his purse towards you, like about I say 20 or 30% of his purse. And so is that part. And the one way you're paid is you get your upfront money to show up, and you get the rest of your money if you win. So if you lose, you only get half. So if you put a lot of money into your training camp and you don't actually win, you only get half of that, and that's a loss to me. So I always feel like if I'm going to put this much work in, and this time and this effort and this investment I've put into this, I really got to win. I don't got a choice for that.
Right.
So it's just that part, but it's the discipline part. You want to make weight. You want to be as professional as to your job as possible. So it's always great to make weight. So missing weight it happens, but it's not something you try to strive for.
Well, I know we're at 26 minutes in, but a lot of listeners out there. I mean, sometimes including myself, going from say 165, 175 to 145 for a regular person, they think that's unrealistic. Say within 2 months, but you're saying that is realistic as long as you've got the proper diet and proper workout.
It's realistic. It just, to be honest, it's a lot of discipline. And it's a lot of doing things you don't want to do. And to be honest with you, a lot of us don't like doing a lot of things. And those usually is the day we want to do things because we always be waiting for, oh, the weather look gloomy today. I don't want to go for a run. I'll wait tomorrow. We always say tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. We keep putting it off. The goal is, regardless how you feel, you're just going through that process and doing it because it's never going to be perfect. This is what you got to get used to. It's never going to be a right situation for you. You always got to either make a move or make a plan. But you can't be patiently waiting, be like, do I go now? Do I go now? If you keep doing that, you're always going to keep waiting.
Well, we do appreciate your time. I do want to take you out on this. And what is like, there's another person listening, a kid, they want to be the next fighter. They want to be in the MMA. Knowing what you know now, what's the one thing maybe you would have changed throughout the course of your journey?
I say try to find some genuine people who care about you. Because in this game, if you don't got that, there's people who will use you and try to make themselves successful. So find people that actually care. You got your best interests at heart. Because a lot of time people put you in a situation that you really shouldn't be in at that time. But if they really care about you, they'll work you slowly, build you up to the point where you can go into a situation where you can handle. Not put you in a situation just because there's more money in it. But you're at the end of the day, you're the one putting your life on the line. This is not a game you're playing. You can get hurt. You can lose your life. You can break bones. So many things can go wrong. But at the end of the day, you got to understand this is not normal. Nobody say I wake up in the morning, I want to get hit. I want to get paid to get hit. It's not something I say that's normal for me to be like, yeah, I make my living getting hit. Really? That's fun? No, it's not. Nobody like getting hit. I always ask people, because people ask me this, bro, are you excited to fight? Man, I'm so excited for you. You must be excited. You love fighting. I was like, I always ask them, have you ever went to a person in the army or the military and asked them, are you excited to get shot? I can't believe you excited to get shot. Nobody's going to say, I'm excited. No, I'm not excited to get hurt. I'm not excited to get hit. I'm not excited for none of those.
That's it. So that's a good analogy.
So it is never exciting. It's just, I got to put the logical part away and still be able to go through the process and get the job done. But if I'm excited, no. Like I said, most people who fight, you'll be surprised, we are a lot more nicer than you think. It's just that when it's time for us to go to work, we're a different kind of person, but we're very nice. The problem is we've been through so much and we know the discipline that we don't try to bully people. So you learn how to be humble for all the things you've been through doing the process of learning, growing, and developing yourself to the person you are now.
Absolutely. Nate Richardson, we appreciate your time. Good luck on your fight coming up in July 16th. And we wish you luck. And my friend, have a good rest of your day. You probably got to work out a few more times, but we'll let you to it.
All right. Thank you, man. Thank you guys for having me. You guys take care of yourself. More blessing to you guys.
I appreciate it.
All right, boss.
All right. Yeah, we're out.